All right. Are you guys ready to talk about some Bills football tonight? Sweep of the New England Patriots, pulled out the broomsticks, swept up, clean up in aisle 12. All puns intended about the number 12 because he ain't there and cleaned them up. Fred, do the honors and put on the bucket hat, man.
Hell yeah, let's do it. Man, this feels good, especially after this one. You guys have no idea. I mean, and you know what's funny is that it wasn't even like a squeaker. It was just a plain smackdown.
That's it. Smackdown it was, man. So, I mean, the second time this season you got to put the bucket hat on versus New England Patriots. And obviously, you know, before the night, so I really want to get into, does this count the same without Tom Brady being in there? And if you guys are new to the show, let me give you some proper introductions. I'm your host, JT. Got my co-host with me. Got my guy, Freddie Martin, in the bucket hat over there. Tradition is, every time the Bills win, Fred puts in the bucket hat, turns the bucket hat, Fred. Got my guy, Clayton Garrett, in the house. What's going on?
Hey, it was a fun night last night. I hope everybody got the time to tune into the Overtime podcast this morning. I've been looking forward to this post-game show all afternoon.
Definitely. So, guys, we going to New England. You know, we talked about this game last week, and I don't know if you guys remember back when the season started, when we had our schedule release show. If you remember correctly, I specifically said that this game right here, the NFL purposely put this game on the schedule on Monday night in New England on Week 16 because this game was the changing of the guard. This was the game that Buffalo was supposed to go to New England, take down the great Belichick, and now this was going to be Buffalo Bills and Sean McDermott's division. And that's exactly what happened. They went in there and, excuse my language, they beat the holy hell out of them. They didn't give them a shot. They smothered them from beginning to end. Fred, I mean, what did you think?
I mean, first of all, I mean, like I said, I've been around, so I've seen the good and the bad of the Bills. I was in shock. I'm not even going to lie to you. I mean, the way that Allen was on the same page was Diggs, and Diggs was just chewing up that defense. I mean, it didn't feel like we were playing the New England Patriots. It really didn't, just because we had complete control of that game right from the beginning. And we never took our foot off the gas. They just kept piling on. And to me, I mean, like I said, I was in awe last night, and it was probably one of my favorite games of this year, even winning the AFC East division. This is by far one of my favorites. This is sweet redemption. I don't care who they had at quarterback. It's still the New England Patriots, and I'm glad we took them out.
Clayton?
Yeah, this was definitely a fun game from start to finish. Mostly because this team did what specifically I thought they needed to do in this game. You know, they executed, and they didn't have a letdown game. They didn't go out there on the national stage against a subpar Patriots team and not look as good as they should have. No, they looked just as good as they should have and more, considering Josh Allen, you know, he put the statistical output he put out in the first game where they met the Patriots. He eclipsed that in the first half against the Patriots this time around. And this Bills offense, you know, they keep doing what they've been doing for the last 2 months, really. And this team is on fire. And, you know, they went in there and they beat up the New England Patriots, and it was definitely a satisfying victory. The changing of the guard, official change of the guard, if you will, like you said, but at the onset of the season, I remember you saying that this is the time. This is where they bury the dynasty. And bury the dynasty they did, and they did it on a high note. And, you know, to go 5-0 in this division, to start in this division this year, it's definitely a turnaround for this team. And the Bills did what they needed to do this week, and I think Bills fans have plenty to be excited about.
You know, until you said that, I actually forgot that they actually were 5-0 in the division. You know, and with maybe a potential loss coming to Miami this week, depending on what we do with our roster and who we decide to play and who we not playing. We're going to talk about that tonight as well, because that's a topic for discussion for sure. Before we get too far in the show, I want to give a shout out to our friends over there at Discover 716 Buffalo. If you are not familiar with them, they are a nonprofit business. They find internships for college kids in the Buffalo area, and if you check their webpage out in their app, they have a lot of cool things going over. So shout out to Discover 716. So to me, Buffalo, and even when you saw the clips of before this game even started with Josh Allen playing around with Diggs and the guys ready, this was the first time that the team looked loose, right? The only other time I can remember the Bills looking loose before a New England game, whether it was home or away, was the year that Brady was suspended and Jacoby Brissett was starting. Right. Was that 08?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. So they looked loose last night to me.
Yeah.
And they weren't tense. They felt like they had no pressure. They felt like they had a job to go do, and that's what they were going to do. Stephon Diggs is, I mean, I don't know what to explain or call this guy anymore. I mean, I don't even know if word elite is even used at this point. It's almost unstoppable. It almost feels to me that Stephon Diggs is playing at a level that Antonio Brown was playing at with Pittsburgh before he went totally insane.
Yep.
You can't guard, and we said last week, you can't guard him short. You can't guard him deep. You can't play zone. And obviously you cannot talk trash to him either. So J.C. Jackson learned his lesson in a very bad way last night. And he learned it. You gonna see. He learned it in a very bad manner. And Stephon crushed these guys. Literally crushed them. Clayton.
3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns in this game. And the last one, that last play where Allen found Diggs for the, you know, Stephon Diggs, he put on a clinic on Monday Night Football. And I'm not sure what else he has to do to prove that if he's not the best receiver in football, he's definitely one of the two. And it's between him and Devontae Adams, in my opinion. But, you know, we've reiterated the same sentiment all season as to how good Stephon Diggs is and how he really isn't. He's better than we all anticipated. And you look at kind of the transformation this offense took ever since his implementation into it. It's insane. and he's exceeded expectations. Josh Allen, by many people, he's exceeded their expectations, and it has all come to fruition, and it's been the culmination of what's been one of the best offenses in the league. This offense moves the ball effortlessly against every opponent that is put in front of them. At some point in the game, this offense is going to get their yards, they're going to get their points, they're going to score, and they're going to assert their dominance on that side of the ball. That's the kind of offense the Bills have now. I think in this game, you saw them starting to establish the rushing attack to begin the game until that first third and goal, or it wasn't third and goal, I believe it was 3rd and 3 towards the goal line, inside the 5-yard line. He ran a stretch play to the left, and after that, he took the reins off this offense, and he let Josh Allen go out there and do his thing with Stephon Diggs, as he did. Stephon Diggs being only one catch away from being one of only 2 football players in NFL history to have 4 consecutive games with 10 catches and 100+ receiving yards. He put on a clinic out there. He was unguardable. I don't care if it's J.C. Jackson or Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Diggs is worth every little bit that Buffalo gave up to Minnesota to get him.
What do you think, Fred?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about this offense, and they've scored 24 points or more in 8 consecutive games. So, I mean, they're definitely putting it up. But, I mean, I know we talk about Diggs. I know we talk about Allen. We talk about the running backs and defense. That offensive line's got to start getting some props, because I'm telling you, they were frustrating that New England front, and they're holding up. They're giving Josh all the time in the world. And I can't say enough about the play of Deion Dawkins, how he stepped up, how he's becoming the leader on that offensive line as well. So hats off to that offensive line. I mean, if it's not for them blocking and holding up for Josh Allen, he don't have that time. But him and Allen and Diggs, man, they're definitely on the same page. That 50-yarder, Diggs showed off that he has some speed. So, yeah, this was a hell of a game to watch.
Since Fred wants to bring up the offensive line, I want to add on to what he said. This offensive line has only given up 4 sacks in the last month of the season. They have quietly been a group that, they were kind of in flux at the beginning of the year with the injuries along the interior and the uncertainty with Cody Ford and Feliciano and Morse going down. All of those things played a factor in this offensive line being inconsistent throughout certain points and times of this season. And now here late in the season, when they have their mixture along the interior that they like being Bakker, Morse, and Feliciano, this offensive line's been on fire. They've been a unit. And that is a key word when referring to offensive line play at any level of football. They have been a unit. They've been playing with great cohesion, and they've been doing what they want to various fronts. It's been great for this Bills front, and that's really what I think. That's really, like Fred said, it's kind of been lost in this offensive statistical output that the Bills have managed over the last 4 weeks. And this offensive line certainly deserves their share of credit.
And you know what? It's funny because like you said, unit and cohesion, and this is something that a couple weeks ago that Sean McDermott was talking about when he said, I think, who did he bench? Was it he didn't put Cody Ford came back from injury, or he would put him out, and he put Boddicker in, and he said it's about becoming a unit, and it seems like now they have found that perfect unit. Now, like I said, the running game is still nothing spectacular at this point, but it's efficient, it's grinded out. It's good enough to help you win a playoff game.
It complements the passing game.
Correct. Like I said, you can't say enough about Deion Dawkins, but you also can't say enough about Darrell Williams coming in and actually finally giving us bookend tackles in Buffalo, probably since Sontrell Henderson's breakout rookie season before he started having health issues and things of that sort. And, the marijuana that he needed to actually fight this health that we kept suspending him for. I mean, whatever. Another story will last another day, I guess. But we haven't had bookends like that since that point in time. So, like I said, this offensive line is playing good. I mean, Ike Boddicker, this is one guy that we kind of bashed after his first outing.
I was mean.
You were very mean about Ike Boddicker.
And now he's a starter. I mean,
and it looks like he may be a starter going to next year. And it's going to be funny to see what kind of decision they make about Cody Ford.
And we still got Ty Nitschke on the bench as well.
Well, we know what Ty is at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I don't know what there is about Cody Ford, because if you're asking me right now, I know a lot more about Ike Bakker than I know about Cody Ford. Really. I have not seen a stretch of games for Cody Ford where he's looked as good as Ike Bakker's looked at one position for as long as Eichbacher has played. Really, Cody Ford is the epitome of inconsistent wherever he has played, whether it's right tackle, whether it's left guard, whether it's right guard. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I feel like a lot of people, it's not even necessarily a Bean thing. I'm not afraid to say that Bean made a bad draft pick or they made a mistake trading up in the second round, because at the end of the day, I ultimately believe that's what happened. Cody Ford was not a really good draft pick. And you're kind of seeing that come to fruition, not as the season goes on. Obviously, there's nothing you can do at this point in time. He's hurt. But from what we've seen of Cody Ford, I'm not all that impressed. Whatever of the 3 of the 5 positions along the offensive line that he plays, I'm a little more confident in Eichbacher. And I feel like Eichbacher, he's been with this organization for, I wouldn't say a long, long time, but he's been here long enough, really since these two, Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, were hired. And there's obviously something that they've liked about Eichbacher. They wouldn't have kept him around as long as they did if they didn't like something about him. And you're really kind of seeing the culmination of that. And I don't know about Cody Ford. I feel like they're going to give Cody Ford every opportunity to fail, because that's just what they do with their draft picks.
Right.
No, I agree. It's gonna be very interesting to see in the offseason what happens, and hopefully that offseason is not too long. About about 8 weeks, 9 weeks away here. Hopefully for us, we'll see. Hey, there's a guy named in the chat named Andy Dykins, and I'll make sure I got your last name right. He says Northwest Connecticut Bills backers. Can you put where your Bills backer bar is up here that you guys attend games at normally without COVID restrictions? I'd like to know. I'm in the area, but no, it's going to be very interesting, some interesting decisions. But I mean, definitely kudos to this offensive line, the way they play. And I want to give kudos to before we talk about Brian Dable and his play calling, because I think we got a lot to talk about with Brian Dable tonight. Dawson Knox is continually becoming more and more part of this offense as the season goes along, and he's been healthy. And I know he dropped the touchdown pass last night, and I know people are saying in my box, I told you he's horrible, and give Dawson some time.
Yep.
No matter who the tight end was this year, they were never going to be a big part of this offense once they found that Gabe Davis was really developed for possibly the number 3, number 4 receiver spot, okay? But Dawson Knox is an athletic matchup issue, and we have to give him some time. But he's becoming more and more part of this offense, and as we go along, he's going to be more and more important. Especially, we don't know what the health of Cole Beasley is going to be going forward, and we think John Brown's come back at 100%, but we do not know. So Dawson Knox may be a guy that we depend on. Anything on Dawson Knox for it?
Yeah, the thing is that you look at Dawson Knox with his size and how physical he is, and he didn't let anything bother him. He drops that pass and he comes back and he does a toe tap, touched pass to catch the, you know what I mean? He dragged his feet. It's a toe tap, and it also was what riled up Bill Belichick, because someone told him to go ahead and challenge it. But you look at Dawson Knox; he's young. He had 2 wide receivers in front of him that are studs right now in this league. So you got to give him time, like you say. I like that he's physical, and I like that he doesn't give up. And he goes back out, he drops a pass, he comes right back, he catches the next one. So give the kid some time, like you're saying. Let him get developed more in this offense.
I think overall with this performance, seeing him drop the touchdown, that was frustrating. But the drop was equivocally as bad as the catches that he was he went on to make were good, if that makes sense to people. Some of those balls that he was pulling in after that drop, it's almost like he made a conscious effort of, I'm not dropping it. If it comes my way again, I'm not dropping it. And I also want it's important that this coaching staff kept him out there after the dropped touchdown. It's very important, because I feel like all too often you'd see Dawson Knox get pulled after a play like that. And that's why we don't really see him have the opportunities to be resilient in games. And whereas this time around, you saw him drop a touchdown pass in the first quarter, and he went on to have 4 catches for over 50 yards, right?
Yeah.
And the one catch at the start of the first half, it was the Bills' first down of the half. Oh my God, that was the dumbest challenge I think I've ever seen Bill Belichick throw, and it was the most satisfying. Because just thinking of how practical it was. It's kind of stupid, The Bills' offense is they get more first downs than any offense in the league. And on the first down of the second half, you throw your red flag, and it wasn't even a good challenge. And it was, I think it was second down too, because they threw an incomplete pass on first down. So I don't know. Bill Belichick with a bad coaching decision. You don't see that very often, but I think people I've eased up on Dawson Knox, and I think Dawson Knox, if he's asked to, he could be an intricate part of this offense given his athletic ability.
But I don't think Belichick gave him the benefit of the doubt that he caught that ball like he did. For that, because he's a big guy. He's 6'5", and then for him to make that athletic play where he toe taps it, and right off the bat, Belichick wasn't giving him benefit of doubt. He's thinking, no, he's out. Go ahead, throw that. But he was clearly in bounds. It was a great play by him.
Shout out to Tailgate Beers too, man. If you guys haven't checked the Tailgate Beers videos that they make on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, please check them out. Yep. Those things are some of the funniest videos I've ever seen, and they're doing one like every game, and they're excellent. So definitely shout out to Tailgate Beers for what those videos they're making. Those things are hilarious, man.
They're on Instagram. They do a great job.
Yeah, and someone said, Tailgate Bears says that Bill was desperate at that point in time, and you know what? He's right. Mm-hmm. He was desperate, and that was the first time I think I've seen Bill Belichick really come unraveled.
Yep.
And
the 2012 game when we beat him,
and for a moment I actually felt bad. I did. I felt bad. I felt bad for him, and I'm like, dang, man, this dude's coming unraveled. He didn't even know what the hell they even control himself. He's yelling, he's cursing, he's chucking telephones, and I'm like, man, poor Bill. And then I thought about the 20 years of just whippings they just gave to us. I said, screw him.
Hey.
Eat it. Leave New England so we know they ain't coming back.
But he had a bad day.
No, so I want to touch on, what do we think about the because obviously he had some very nice words for Sean McDermott following the game, and he actually had a pretty long conversation for Bill Belichick. It seems like he has a lot of respect for what Sean McDermott does, how he coaches his team, and how he runs his organization. And that's not something we normally see from Bill outside of people that have left his tree. What do we make of that?
I think Bill Belichick's always kind of a person that's really going to respect from afar. He's always going to he's going to be a competitor when approaching an opponent, obviously. But Sean McDermott being given a nod of respect from probably the best, let's stop, the greatest coach of all time, Bill Belichick, that.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah? Okay. All right. Okay. From Bill Belichick, that means a lot. That means a lot for a guy like Sean McDermott. And, it's not like Bill Belichick hasn't seen this team twice a year for the last 4 years since Sean McDermott took over this team. He knows what this team has evolved into. He knows what this coaching staff has done with the personnel that they've brought onto this team. And he knows the building process that the Bills have gone through. And it's not like, let's not pretend like Bill Belichick, hasn't built a team himself as well. And he knows the difficulties. He knows the part that how difficult it is for a team to build themselves up to the point that the Bills have gotten themselves to this point. So, to be respected by a fellow coach and one that's, considered one of the best of all time, I think that's something Sean McDermott, takes a lot of pride in, as he should.
And, another thing, though, is that it's Bill Belichick. He is a good football coach. There's no denying. But he's also a football guy. And I remember in the 90s when the Bills in Cleveland, when he was over there. So he knows that the Bills were once on top. And then for 20 years, we were always on the bottom. And I think that it is a respect thing that he's given respect to McDermott for what he's done. Because, trust me, it's not going unnoticed, the job that Bean and McDermott has done up there. And everyone's noticing it now. And now you get a guy like Belichick, giving his props. That's pretty big.
It is big. Like I said, everybody wants to be respected by their peers. And, I think that Bill Belichick sensed this coming a few years back. The Bills inched closer and closer to beating them, right? They were inching closer and closer to beating them. And, we're with Josh Allen concussion away from possibly beating them last year in the first matchup, and in reality, in the second matchup, we were probably a little bit overthrown Dawson Knox back corner post route touchdown from beating them. So I think he sensed this coming. As they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and I think he's looking in the mirror. when he sees Sean McDermott. I think he's looking in the mirror. I think he sees himself in Sean McDermott a lot as far as how he's has his team pay attention to detail, how he has his team prepared every week, and how he doesn't allow a lot of mental letdowns, if you want to call it. Every opponent is good. Every opponent is great, essentially, in Sean McDermott's mind. And if you ever hear him talk to the press, he doesn't down you. He don't care if you're 1-15. He doesn't down you. Every opponent is great, and that's a lot of Bill Belichick.
No, absolutely. And that's something that I think you and I have talked about a lot behind the scenes is how Bills fans hate to do it. They hate to compare what the Bills have built to what Belichick had built in New England. But it's the most comparable thing for the Bill to kind of assess what the Bills have done. It's the most comparable comparison for the Bills to kind of draw parallels as to what the Bills are doing and what they have built and how they're built to sustain victories. They have their quarterback. They've gotten the hard part solved, is finding the franchise quarterback, and they found it. And they found it relatively early in the rebuild, just like Bill Belichick did. And you talk about the foundational points that you just talked about, Jeremy, and that you're right. I'm sure Bill does see a lot of himself in Sean McDermott, and it goes a long way. It really does. And you talk about what Sean McDermott had to do with this team. He took it over. He took over a Rex Ryan-led football team in 2017. So it's definitely been a 180 since Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have taken over for sure.
And I mean, we continue to get stellar play from this defense. This defense has played honestly lights out since around our bye week time period. I mean, they've been great. I think they're only allowing like 68 rushing yards a game or something like that, and 18 points per game. I think last night we only allowed 9, so it's probably lower than 18 points. So it's probably around 17 points since our bye week. This defense is coming to play. Everybody's executing. Everybody's playing well. But I think the most important part is everybody seems to be healthy now.
And it seems like we're in our stride now because you touched on it about being healthy. That's what I noticed. This whole team is on defense most of them are back from last year. They are healthy. And the thing I noticed last night is that very physical. They're physical again. They're tackling again. Everybody was putting a hat on the ball. That's what I noticed with this defense. And it's starting to resemble the defense from last year. So they're starting to hit their stride. And now you got a defense to go along with this offense. And then you can't forget about our special teams. I mean, the special teams is quietly having a great year as well. Andre Roberts, Tyler Bass, Corey Borquez, they're all doing their thing. Even though Corey only punted once in this game, it was 54 yards. He's still up there on tops as far as punters go this year as well.
Yeah, Corey Borquez may have the best job in America this season. Like, legit, man. I mean, he's done more podcast appearances than he's punted the ball this year. And Corey, you should come on our podcast. Let you know we'll put you out there, bro. But just saying, the thing is, as my man Dan Gabino and Coles and Buffalo Wet would call him, what do they call him? They called him the Bojo Bomb. That's what they called him, the Bojo Bomb. So yeah, and we can't give enough credit to the special team unit as well. And like you said, Fred, this special team unit has been possibly the top special team unit all year. And remember, around early in the season, a lot of people were saying after Andre Roberts fumbled the ball versus the Titans and dropped the ball, the interception, things like such, let's get rid of Andre Roberts. And I said, whoa, hold on. Wait a minute now. Now, I agree we should not put him back on offense. Don't use him. We did try to use him last night for a jet sweep. I get that. But we got a little bit crazy talking about get rid of Dre, man. All right? Dre is Roberts has set us up in a lot of games. He's given us field position. He's given us a spark in a lot of games. And that can't go unnoticed. And last night, when I think the special teams, the fake punt in the pass, that is what really got the moment, the juices flowing. And it was all downhill for New England right after that play.
New England got lucky because if Saron Neal catches that ball cleanly, he's gone. He is fast. He would have been gone.
The fake punt, how awesome is that? How awesome.
I was shocked. I was like, what?
I feel like the last time I watched the Bills fake a punt, it was George Wilson was the setback. And it was a direct snap to him. And it was against New England too. It was a long time ago, obviously.
Didn't Brian Mormon throw one to Kelsey? Not Kelsey. I think of his name. I thought Brian Mormon threw a touchdown actually too.
Brian Mormon did a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He did.
But this fake punt, I was shocked that they pulled that out. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was like, what the heck are we doing here? And then I seen Saran Neal. Nobody was lined up on him either. So, but we know that he's got speed. That's what I'm saying. If he would have caught that, I think he was gone. Would have scored.
Well, you know what I think what it is with the punt is, if you guys go back, the Patriots blocked a punt against us 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Last year they blocked one, and the year before that, remember, New England, they blocked one to went back for a touchdown. Mm-hmm. So 2 years in a row. So I think that they went to the same formation that they did the previous years to block it. And when they did, they took that gunner. So Buffalo probably already had that ready, prepared, looking at the film from the last 2 years, and said, okay, if you see this gunner coming on this edge, we're direct snapping this Jaquan, we're throwing it. Because they said that, I forgot who said it, but they said they had been waiting to run that play for a while now.
It was Zoe.
Wow.
It was Zoe. Zoe
Right.
said it on Twitter.
Right, it was Zoe. You're correct. It was Zoe. He said they had been working on that last year. So they've had this in the playbook for a year, and I think New England finally gave them the chance to run it, and they did.
They gave him that look, and they took it.
Right. Right. So, it's really good to see the special team unit, because, like I said, shout out to definitely Heath Farwell. I mean, what a coach he has been, what a coach Chad Hall has been. I mean, this coaching staff is phenomenal. And to be honest with you, down the line, I think we may have maybe 2 to 3 future head coaches on this staff.
This staff, if they stay together, this could be the next dynasty if everyone stays put. I'm just saying. I mean, these guys you got to look all the way across the Bills, not just the players, but the coaches as well, like you touched on. I mean, these guys, they're all young. If they all stay together, this Bills team's not going to go away anytime soon.
I think Chad Hall is quietly one of the best position coaches in the NFL. He has been for a long time. And he's been a wide receivers coach. I believe he replaced Sanjay Lal, who's now in Seattle. He replaced Sanjay Lal, and he was at one point, I believe he was an intern for this team. And he was brought over after he was a wide receivers coach in Kansas City. And he's done an incredible job with these receivers. And I don't think I've found you could find a single receiver that has a bad thing to say about Chad Hall. You said what, 2 or 3 future head coaches? I might take the over on that, because it might. You have a lot of quality coaches on this team. You talk about guys like Ken Dorsey. You talk about guys like Brian Dable, Leslie Frazier, and Chad Hall as well. You can't forget Bobby Johnson, who's done an incredible job with the offensive line, and Bob Badvich, who continues to be one of the best linebacker coaches in the league. This is definitely a front office, a coaching staff that's built from the bottom up. This is also an incredible front office as well. We have to give nod to that, because they have a lot of former GMs in that office, and there is a lot of football brains in these rooms for the Buffalo Bills. A lot of football guys and a lot of football knowledge, and a lot of guys who really have. They're there to do the same thing. They're not there to get attention. They're not there for the media. They're there to go to work and go win a Super Bowl.
And that's the thing. You don't hear much from this coaching staff at all. I mean, they all come and they do their job. I mean, even throughout the week, you don't really hear much from McDermott. You know what I mean? Even right now, we have no idea what he plans on doing on Sunday. Nobody knows.
Well, Zoe said earlier in the year to me that, the thing about Coach McDermott is he likes to keep everything close to the chest. He don't want you knowing nothing. And like I said, that's, once again, when we talked about Belichick and being similar, that's a similar trait. You get nothing. You'll know when we want you to know, which is normally probably an hour before game time, because the media is not going to blow this out of proportion, and we're not going to give the other team the benefit of the doubt, and we're not going to let them game plan for us.
Right. And Sean McDermott being, close to his chest, it's advantageous. It's advantageous because you talk about a team these guys are humans. We all realize that, right? These guys are all humans. There is truly a human factor that goes into every game. And if you were to say that the Bills were to bench their guys right now, what's stopping the Steelers from playing their guys and, taking that number 2 seed for themselves? What's stopping them? Nothing. Nothing is stopping a team from making a gut check decision and switching their plan. I mean, you don't know what teams do behind closed doors. So you're better off just keeping your cards close to your chest and letting them find out when everybody else does.
Yeah, and the thing with the Pittsburgh Steelers with Roethlisberger, they put out that he's not going to play. They're starting Rudolph. I think Roethlisberger's banged up. I really do. I've been saying it for the last couple of weeks. I think there's an injury with that knee that he hyperextended that one time. I think that's what's bothering him. Maybe he just needs a break. Maybe he needs that week.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell he needs the week. I mean, he's old. He's old. He's beat up. I mean, anytime Ben Roethlisberger falls, I mean, it is the oldest man type of fall you'll ever see. Like, I mean, it's just like, oh, I'm in slow motion, and like, I mean, it's really bad. Like, so I mean, I mean, someone get the man a life alert. Seriously, every time he falls, he needs, like, him and Phillip Rivers are the two that fall. Like Tom Brady, when Brady goes down, you know, Brady he does a little his duck, you know, he goes down. These two, between Phillip Rivers and Ben Roethlisberger, I swear to God, I feel like one of them's gonna break a hip.
Break a hip
when they fall. I swear to God, it is. It's the slowest fall I've ever seen in my life. Like, I mean, Phillip is all yelling and all over the place, just moving his arms, and Ben is just like, "Where's my wheelchair?" It's bad. I'm not. It's funny, but watch the tape. It's awful. Yeah, everything that he falls, I think he's hurt. But no, Pittsburgh are going to rest the starters this week. I mean, this is going to be very interesting. I think in years past, when you had fans and you had the 2 bye weeks, we would have never seen this.
No.
We would have never seen this. But now that there's no fans, really, or 6,700, which is not much to make a lot of noise, still got to pump a lot of crowd noise in there.
Oof,
now you're seeing strategy, and it's going to be interesting to see what Sean McDermott chooses to do, because you have a chance to lock up number 2 seed, because people will say, well, you're not playing for anything, right? Well, you still are playing for another home game in the second round, possibly.
And you know what's funny is that people keep saying, it doesn't matter home field. We don't have fans there. Really? Because Green Bay didn't have fans. They had snow and weather. And look what Tennessee looked like in that weather.
I honestly, in terms of home field, I find it to be far more advantageous that this team, you know, they're in their regiment. They're doing what they do every week. They're getting ready for their game on their home field. There's no flight to catch. There's no extracurriculars. You just go to work, and your work is in Buffalo. It's going to be in Buffalo until you go to Tampa. That's what I want to see for this Bills team. Regarding their starters, obviously with the Cole Beasley situation with the Bills, it obviously makes everybody a little more like, maybe we shouldn't play our starters. But if you're playing for that second seed, you know, we don't have to worry about what Cleveland does if the Bills just start their guys and win this game. Because if you're asking me, I don't like dismissing the Miami Dolphins. I don't like doing it, but they are a good team. They're ready to finish. What are they? They have 9 wins right now, right?
They're 10-5. There's like 5 teams
that
are 10-5.
They're a 10-win football team. They're not frauds. Do I think Tua isn't as good as some people are marking him up to be? Absolutely. I don't think he's nearly as good as some people peg him to be. But this Miami Dolphins team, they're a team that's looking to come in there and earn their spot in the playoffs. And this is a Buffalo Bills team that, you know, they know that feeling. They know that eagerness. They know that hunger. And am I necessarily saying that this is a team that you should overlook, or this is a team that you should bench your guys against? Absolutely not. I want to see for what it's worth, I want to see this Bills team go out there and beat up the Dolphins. I do. I don't want to see you lose any kind of momentum on the offensive side of the ball like we saw last year when this team, you know, they didn't really have a head of steam going to the playoffs. Right now they have the biggest head of steam in the NFL. And does that go away if you don't play some guys and you get them out of their routine just to, you know, get a bye week before the playoffs? I mean, that has its advantages as well. Don't get me wrong, but I want to see you. I want to see you start some of your guys and go out there and take the division, sweep the division, go 6-0 in your division, and go 13-3, and claim that number 2 seed, and not have to worry about going anywhere unless you're going to Arrowhead for the AFC title. And who even knows if that happens? So if I'm the Bills, I do what I can do. I control what I can control, and the Bills control their own destiny. If they want the number 2 seed, they can go out there and take it this week. Point blank, period.
And I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. And one of the reasons why is you just said it. You about the division. I don't know I don't think we've ever swept the division 6-0. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the 13-3. And not only that, but keep it in that rhythm, that routine that you got every week, being prepared, getting ready for the game. You know, the last thing you want to be is unprepared, you know, thinking that you're not going to play or you're going to play. Treat it like it's a game, a regular game. It is still the regular season. Go out there and go for the win. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm gonna be the third name in that hat. I'm going for the win. Obviously, when Cole Beasley went down last night, did it stop my heart? Exactly. Yeah, it did. And the reason it stopped my heart is because obviously it was a non-contact injury. So yeah, it scares the living hell out of me that we could lose somebody. But in the game of football, you could lose people at any point in time. And I agree with. I think we need to keep the gas on keep our foot on the gas pedal, keep moving forward, and get this thing done. I go 13-3. I don't want the layover. And at the very least, if you are going to take the starters out, then yeah, Mookie Hawkins says in the chat he thinks that Josh will play what first quarter, break Kelly record, score twice, and then chill. I'm cool with even a halftime.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I go back to that Ravens team last year. Now, personally, I don't personally believe that the Ravens were just rusty. I do believe that Buffalo did give people the blueprint to slow that offense down and stop Lamar Jackson. I do wholeheartedly believe that. But part of that was them, taking almost 2 to 2.5 weeks off. If KC wants to do that, then yeah, let the Chiefs do that. They did the same thing last year, and they almost blew 2 playoff games because of it. It was 2 heroic comebacks versus the Titans and the Texans that got them to Super Bowl. It wasn't dominance. So if I'm Buffalo, I'm going in there and I'm trying to win this football game.
Just to go off your point there, because you talk about the Chiefs, you talk about the Ravens, you talk about how these teams that are kind of on a pedestal in their conference. The Chiefs are the number 1 seed. They've been the number 1 seed since the season started, and they're going to be the number 1 seed when this season ends. And if you watch the Chiefs right now, they've won more games by less than 1 score than any team in NFL history. 7 straight games they have won by less than 6 points. That is a team that's primed to get beaten. That is a team that is clinging on to life right now. I mean, you can sit here and say, "Oh, well, they're amazing. They can turn it on and off." Don't give me that. That's garbage. Because guess what? Once you play a quality opponent, and I'm not saying they haven't played quality opponents. They beat the Saints. They've beaten good football teams. But once you get a quality opponent that can go score for score with you, like the Buffalo Bills can, you will lose. That's how it works. And I feel like the Chiefs have kind of fallen their way forward this last half of the season as the Bills have excelled and have only proven that they're not only one of the best teams in the conference, but arguably the best team in the whole NFL. They have run through everybody effortlessly, it seems like, ever since that Hail Mary pass. And whereas with the Chiefs, the defense has fallen off. They're giving up a touchdown more every single game. You're playing a game with the Atlanta Falcons, who are going to finish this season with 3 or 4 wins. It's just this is not a team that I'm scared of anymore in the Kansas City Chiefs at all. And in regards to who the Bills are going to play in the first round of the playoffs, I would love to see the Dolphins, but this is a Bills team that, they're firing on all cylinders. You don't want to mess that up. You don't want to mess that up. I tend to agree with you, Jeremy. Even if you just play them a first half, don't let it be like against the Jets last season where you played them a series, pulled your guys, and called it a day. Let these guys settle in. Let them get into a flow in the game, and then maybe pull them. If it's me, like I said, I'm playing those guys for four until this game is decidingly won. If you're up 38-9 towards the end of the third quarter, you can pull your guys. But if I'm the Bills, I'm going for the win.
That's what I would agree. Same thing. I was thinking the same thing. Get the game where it's out of reach for the Miami Dolphins and then pull back the reins. And I mean, the way that we've been putting up points, not so much in the first quarter, but the second quarter, I mean, we realistically, we could be up by a couple scores on these guys. So, I mean, nobody wants any injuries. Obviously, we stayed healthy most of the year and a couple of nicks here and there. But for the most part, you got to play the game. All right. It's still football. Okay, it's still football. Everyone's worried about injuries or whatever. They can get injured in practice. Okay, it's still football. Go play the game. They're prepared. They know what they have to do. and don't break up that routine. Continue with that routine. And I think that's what they need. I've seen more teams in the NFL start through the wild card and make it to the Super Bowl through the playoffs because they didn't have that downtime. And it was every week they're back in their routine. Every week they're back in their routine. And I want to see this team do that. I do, because you know what? The first time the Bills went to the Super Bowl, it was in Tampa. So it's just coincidental that the Super Bowl is in Tampa this year as well. So that's what I want to see. No helicopters.
At least the time I feel a little bit more confident in Tyler Bass than just Scott Norwood. So I guess that's
no helicopters.
I guess that's a win. You know, he ain't got that one little bar thing. He has one eye patch, but not the one bar.
Going back
one bar. I don't want any. I don't want to kick her with the one bar. But no, I don't know. I'm going back and forth with this of how I really feel. You know, then another part of me is about matchups. Who are we going to end up playing? And now that the Colts literally just completely blew that game against Pittsburgh, it kind of threw off the entire AFC out of whack. Now you have the Ravens, the 5th seed. The Browns blew the game versus the Jets. I'll be like, I didn't blow them. The NFL blew it for them. The NFL really screwed the Browns over. I'm just being real. They screwed them. You've pushed back every game this year when people had key players missing. He's like, that's Cleveland. Screw them.
All your wide receivers go play.
Right, you screwed them. It's okay. We can say it. The NFL screwed the Browns this week. So now they're in the last seed. You know, the Colts are out, which, I mean, that's probably not the worst thing. I mean, I can actually go to playoffs without seeing Phillip choking Rivers. Yeah, he is. He is a choker. He choked again. I just said it 2 weeks ago, and look at it. Boom, he choked. This is what it is.
That game was looking ugly for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then out of nowhere, Phillip Rivers showed up.
Yep, he did. He sure did. He's going to be headed back to North Carolina real soon because I got a feeling they're not going dancing. So it's just, you know, well, and I know my boy James in the chat says Denver got screwed, but that was Denver. They had like 3 wins. They don't count. They don't count. I mean, you know, maybe it was the league just saying, hey, you're playing the Jets, you should win this game anyway, right? Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You know, I'm going back and forth with it, and they got to play starters at least a half. I would prefer 3 quarters. If Tua Tagovailoa is starting this game, as Brian Flores says, then there's no reason that the Buffalo can't get up in this game 21-0 really quick.
Yeah. And I say play it like a playoff game. Go get them, boys.
I don't know. He only throws like 4 routes.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, that we should be able to go up 21-0. We should be able to go 21-0 with Tua in the game. Then Ryan Fitzpatrick comes in. That's when the fun starts.
I don't understand what people see in Tua right now that gets them overly excited. Because I remember a time when Josh Allen wasn't, you know, he wasn't what he is now, obviously. And people tried comparing him to Tyrod Taylor, whereas with Tua Tagovailoa, I actually see it. You actually see that playmaker ceiling with Tua. And I tend to agree. You know, if they're playing Tua Tagovailoa, send your guys out there. You know, have confidence in your defense. I hate saying guys are Tyrod Taylor because that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you know there is a ceiling there. You know there's a ceiling. And I feel like if the Bills get up on a team 21-0, they're gonna win. They've done it so many times this year. I wouldn't say they've done it so many times this year, but they have gotten out to leads that are insurmountable for professional football teams. And if Tua Tagovailoa is their quarterback, I don't see many leads that guy can come back from that the Bills put on top.
Yeah, I like what Chris English is saying right here about running the ball. There you go. Run the ball, you run the clock. Our defense is going to be able to shut down the Miami offense, so I don't think that's an issue. But I would definitely play this game just like it's a playoff game.
Yeah. So what do you do with this receiver lineup? Because, you know, Lone Wolf brings up a good point here, and it actually made me think about this. Miami's secondary is pretty good, he says, though we're going to be without Beasley in the slot. Do we move John Brown to the slot for this game, move Gabe Davis outside? Because we've seen Gabe Davis inside, and I think I prefer Gabe Davis outside.
Well, the one thing that McDermott said about when they got Gabe is that the fact that he can play anywhere across that line. And he's done it. I haven't seen him in the slot, but I wouldn't have a problem with John Brown being in there. And you also got McKenzie as well. So you can almost still keep everybody outside and just bring McKenzie in. He's been getting a couple plays, and he deserves to get more plays. So I would throw McKenzie in the slot.
Or do we just throw Diggs in the slot?
Yeah. That's what I was just about to chime in.
Okay.
Are we playing Diggs? Diggs is pretty damn good in the slot.
Yeah, and you know what's killing these defenses? These crossing routes, these short, intermediate crossing routes are killing them. And now you got more speed. You had John Brown, you got more speed on there. You got McKenzie, their speed. Then you got Diggs. So either way, it's going to be a nightmare for defense. Even though I know Miami's got a pretty good secondary, they got Howard back there. I think this is the game where we open up the running game. This might be the game that we run the ball.
Right. And you know what? You can take that all the way to Super Bowl. We saw San Francisco do that last year. They got that running game going a little bit before the playoffs and just kept it rolling. I mean, then they ran against Green Bay like for 200-something yards and only threw for like under 100.
Yep.
I mean, it can happen.
And, for the offense, you talk about having Gabe outside, Brown outside, and then Diggs in the slot. That's a formidable receiving core. That's that's a lot better than a lot of teams have in the NFL. And when I want to see what Miami does. You put Diggs in the slot. That's what they did to get it to work against Miami last time. Let's not forget that. Diggs was in the slot a lot against the Dolphins when the Bills played them last time in Miami. So I want to – because that seemed to be the mismatch. What are you going to do when Diggs goes to the slot? You're going to put Howard in there, or are you going to keep Igbenogany in there? That's what I want to see. It puts pressure on that defense. Having the presence of Stephon Diggs on the offense, regardless of where he's lining up, regardless of who else is out, that puts a lot of pressure on a defense as to where you're going to line guys up and what matchups you're going to choose. And, I think, even without Cole Beasley in there, Stephon Diggs is a lot to worry about for the Dolphins. It's just going to be interesting to see if they suit him up or not.
Right. Somebody asked in the chat, I think James Bilek says again about Brian Flores making a comment about the relief pitcher. When I heard him say that, I wanted to bash my head.
He said what?
Against you know what he said?
Yeah, when he pulled the kid.
So when he pulled them, and they asked him after the game about who's going to be a starting quarterback moving forward now, because this is the second time that he has pulled Tua Tagovailoa and put Brian Fitzpatrick in. After the game, he said Tua is the starting quarterback. He just feel like he needs to win that game, and going forward, Tua's going to be a starting quarterback. But Week 17, he'll have his relief pitcher ready.
Ooh, so when you came on the tailgate and said relief pitcher, you weren't joking.
No, I wasn't joking. No, I was dead serious.
Damn,
what he said.
I did hear the comments, and here's the thing: what do you think it's going to do for this kid's confidence? You want him to be your starter, and then now he's got to think in the back of the head: if I make a mistake, they're going to pull me. What part of this game am I going to get yanked for Ryan Fitzpatrick? I don't think that's a good plan to have, to be honest with you. Even though it worked against the Raiders, I wouldn't. I wouldn't go throughout my whole rest of my season relying on that move.
I mean, what is that?
Honestly, what is he doing in terms of how he's handling this quarterback situation? You draft a dude in the top 5, and you give him the keys at the bye week. Let him ride or die with him. Let the quarterback face adversity. Force him to come back in games. I kind of talked about this on Sunday with the Sunday night tailgate, but they're kind of playing with house money when you think about it, because they have a chance to get the 3rd overall pick with how bad the Texans have played, considering they sent a first-round pick for a left tackle. And now that, they have their own draft pick, but they're going to have a top pick regardless of how they play. So I think he's kind of in this area where, you want to have the extra comfort of, I brought the Dolphins to the playoffs, however much merit that holds. A playoff appearance means a lot for owners. That means a lot. Not every owner is all plugged into their football team like the Paculas are. Some owners are a little more distant. I'm not sure what the ownership situation is with the Miami Dolphins, but that could be the case. And making the playoffs buys coaches, buys general managers time to, build a Super Bowl caliber team, which they aren't right now. And, the situation with Tua, really, that's the first thing that I've seen Brian Flores do that I'm like, all right, this is a little messed up. But at the same time, it's probably the most critical. Getting the quarterback is the hard part. Managing the quarterback is the hard part. If you mess that up, you could derail the whole ship. So I'm not necessarily going to say I'm going to be disappointed if that's what was to happen. But in terms of quarterback building, quarterback development, I don't know. I don't think you're doing the right things here with a quote unquote relief pitcher. That's just stupid. Tua Tagovailoa is going to be 30 before he gets his first fourth quarter winning drive. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. It makes no sense.
I'll tell you right now that I hope everybody remembers, when we played the Miami Dolphins down in Miami, we weren't at 100%. We didn't have Edmonds. We didn't have Milano.
That was a no linebacker game.
Yeah. And then don't forget we had that the loss of power in the stadium when we had some momentum power. All of a sudden we have a delay there. Then we had another half hour delay because of the thunder and lightning. So, I mean, that whole game, we were not at 100%. Now look at this team. I'm not afraid of the Dolphins.
No. And you know what? You have to figure at some point you're separating, you're dividing that locker room as well.
Yeah.
Quarterback situations can divide locker rooms very badly. We saw that, and I think McDermott got a piece of that when he pulled the Peterman switch for Tyrod. And I think that's why he was always kind of leery as a young coach not to not do that again. Because, your starting D tackle likes the backup, your starting linebacker likes the starter, the current starter. There's going to be a conflict. That's gonna offset the balance there of cohesion. So I don't know what he's doing, but he should really take a page out of McDermott's book or Bean's book and figure this out, because like I said, he's gonna destroy this kid. I hope for Tua's sake that he is mentally strong, and maybe he is mentally strong. Maybe why he feels he could do this, but this isn't college.
No,
this is the NFL. And what I think you have a problem is I think you had an owner in Ross, and I know you asked about what type of input this Ross has. He does put some of his input in Miami's decisions. He wanted Tua before Tua had ever declared for the draft.
Ooh,
so I think what your situation you're having here is, I think you got some people in the management and the coaching staff that may prefer Justin Herbert. And every touchdown that Justin Herbert throws, they cringe a little bit.
I'd be a lot more worried if the Bills were facing Justin Herbert twice a year. I mean, they you can't say it handled them. He had 300 yards when they played him, but I don't. It's weird how the national championship situation where they benched Jalen Hurts at halftime, brought in Tua. It's kind of coming full circle now. Where now you're kind of playing this game where it's Tua's team, it's not Tua's team, it's Fitz's team. Fitz gives us the best chance to win, and you're not really developing Tua Tagovailoa properly, and it's bleeding into his game because this guy feels like he can't screw up. I sit on this, I sit here and I joke about Tua throwing 4 routes. It's because the dude has no confidence. He doesn't. You watch him play. Watch him, see how timid he is. See how he's almost kind of afraid to lead. This guy doesn't have a voice. Once Josh Allen took the keys to this offense, it felt like it was Josh Allen's team. It felt like Josh Allen was the leader. He was the quarterback. He was the guy for the offense. Whereas with Tua Tagovailoa, he's afraid to throw it to the other team. He's afraid to take chances with the football, throw it. Obviously, there's lack of experience in there with the lack of anticipation and the slow processing. Obviously, that all plays a factor into what goes on with Tua Tagovailoa when he's playing. But I think you also have to factor in the fact that this guy is getting pulled in and out of games, and he has a guy right over his shoulder that has proven that he's capable of winning games. He came out there and won the game this past week. Was it heroics with a penalty? Yeah, but it happened. Ryan Fitzpatrick also led this team to a winning record to start this season, and a lot of people were pissed off when he got pulled because there was a fair argument to be made that Fitzpatrick should still be starting. Yeah. And if you're Tua Tagovailoa, how do you feel? How do you feel? This stuff all gets to quarterbacks at some point. It will come to fruition at one point or another, whether it's next year or 2 years down the line. You will find out if this had a long-lasting impact on him. All you have to do is go look at the situation that happened in Philadelphia with Nick Foles and Carson Wentz years later, because Carson Wentz has not been the same quarterback since Nick Foles took his team to a Super Bowl win. And he has not been the same confident quarterback, and he has not been the same. He hasn't had the same swagger either. And all of those things play into being an elite NFL quarterback. And until I can see Tua Tagovailoa go out there and play with confidence, I'm convinced otherwise.
And that's the thing that people don't realize is that you can be a great quarterback in college. If you come to the NFL, if you don't have that right coach that's going to help develop you, you're going to be a bust, plain and simple. And right now, what they're doing in Miami, I don't think, like you said, this is not going to help this kid's confidence. You need to have him go out there and struggle. You need to let him see what it feels like in the NFL to when you throw an interception. You got to get back out there and play on the next play. But if you have a coach, you're not helping this kid. If you're not going to help develop him by doing this, you're just going to frustrate the kid, and you're probably going to frustrate your team, like JT touched on about. You're going to have a divided locker room, and it's going to happen. I mean, you got a veteran who everybody. I don't know why they pulled him. Fitz was sending this team to the playoffs, and you just pull him. I mean, I could see if Fitz lost 2-3 games in a row, then you throw him out there. But Fitz was winning.
Listen, when a move like that comes down, and this is very similar to the Rob Johnson, Doug Flutie switch before the playoff game in Tennessee.
Yep.
When a switch like that happens with the winning record, that switch only comes from one place and one place only, and that's straight from the top. And coming through the wire here, our guy Mud Dog sent me a message on the side and said, completely correct on the Ross analysis. Ross loved Tua when he came out of high school, and he wanted him from the jump. People inside Miami's organization did everything they could to sway Ross into Herbert, but Ross wanted Tua, and that was it. So it's clear to see. Like I said, has there ever been a moment in Buffalo where even if the media, even if the press was saying that we did not think Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott were not behind Josh Allen 110%? No. Absolutely not. We can go back to Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez. There was that one moment where you did not think that Rex Ryan did not have Mark Sanchez's back.
Got his tattoo.
Right. This kid is 6 games into his career, and they asked your head coach. So what about Tua and having a high draft pick? And he's not. I'm not committing to anything. You sound like a dope. Yeah. This isn't Dwayne Haskins. And no, I don't want to defend Miami. I don't want to do everything right and have the organization on the right path either. But from a football perspective, this is asinine. Mm-hmm. This is extremely idiotic. And there's some internal battling. And for as much credit we give Miami about how good their front office is and the trajectory that they're on, something like this and one core like this can throw you all off. I got 2 names for you. Jim Harbaugh and Trent Baalke, 49ers. One clash can end an entire organization and end an entire run. So you better be careful.
Oh yeah, I think without a doubt Flores missed the Brady part. He missed the developing of Brady part. I don't think he was there to learn that tutelage from Belichick, without a doubt.
Nope. Yeah. So, but hey, we don't want to talk too much about these tunas. I mean, hopefully we beat up on them and squish the fish and go defeat at 6. We don't give them too many props. Yeah, I mean, we take the last 5 minutes of the show. So you guys put your questions in. We'll try to answer them. You know how we do. So please do that. Brian Dable, is he gone?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he's already going on record saying that, how much he loves Josh Allen. He looks to Josh Allen like he's his own son. I mean, and you think about it, this is 3 years now that he's been calling. This is his system, and he's having success. Maybe he sticks around because he is having the success, and maybe he wants to see this thing through as well. Because same with Leslie Frazier. I thought he would have had some bids, but maybe these guys they want to stick it around. I mean, they helped put this together. Maybe they see this thing through.
All right.
I mean, there's no guarantee that Dable's going to get a job.
I'll say this. If they don't win a Super Bowl this year, it is much more likely for Brian Dable to stay this year than if they do. Mm-hmm. And if you're asking me right now, what I thought the likelihood of the Bills winning a Super Bowl this year, I think it's pretty high. It's pretty high right now. I don't think Brian Dable's staying here. I really don't. And no, that doesn't correlate necessarily with the Super Bowl victory. But if the Bills do win a close Super Bowl and they have something a little extra salty to be motivated about, there could be a situation where you see Brian Dable come back, but you run the risk of losing a lot of money in that scenario.
I go back and forth because, you guys know I was the biggest Brian Dable hater. I'm not afraid to admit I was the biggest Brian Dable hater. If I could have fired him, I would have fired 5 times over by now. But, I had, thinking about it after this season, as the season went along, I had to realize Brian Dable never stayed. And as much as I use this as a point against him, he never stayed as an OC more than one season with a team.
Right.
And probably the best quarterback he had was Jake Delhomme. So he's developed. He's developing as a play caller every week as we go along. Like, and now that thing that we always talked about, his lack of rhythm, he's gaining that now. So, like I said, most definitely kudos to him for it. But I go back and forth if he's gone or not, because it depends about the jobs. And as you start throwing more names into this hat, like Marvin Lewis, like Jim Harbaugh possibly come from college, as people continue to go after Dable Sweeney and what's the guy from Oklahoma's coach?
Well, not Oklahoma's coach, Lincoln Riley, and then Urban Meyer.
Then Urban Meyer, and you start throwing these other names in the hat. I can see it's possible that he gets pushed down that list, because I still think that Eric Bieniemy has to get a head coaching gig before he does. And then it's also possible that teams like Atlanta may not switch from Raheem Morris.
Then you got Josh McDaniels up in Patriots.
I'm done. I'm done with that dude. You
don't think he's going to
I'm done with that clown.
Oh, yeah, because he had an opportunity and he turned it. That's right.
That dude's a coward.
Yeah.
I'm done with him. I'm done with that. No one should if someone offers that dude a job before Brian Dable, after what he did with the Colts and how he felt with the Broncos, don't give that coward a job. That's exactly what he is. He's a freaking coward. Done with him.
I forget.
And he ain't a genius either.
It was the Colts that he did that too, right? He was going to go and then
I'm done with him. I'm done with him. If you give him a job before Brian Dable, we're marching down to that stadium wherever he's a job at, and we're boycotting. That's it. I'm done. Don't give that clown a job. He can mop up what's left when Bill Belichick chooses to leave New England. Coward.
I will say this. If Brian Dable were to get a job offer from the Los Angeles Chargers, that would be a match made in heaven for him. You have a really good general manager, you have a really good roster, and you have a really good quarterback. I think that situation right there, it's either – you know what? I think the most ideal situations for head coaching vacancies. I mean, Anthony Lynn hasn't been fired yet, so who knows? But
the rumor is the Jets are firing Gase.
If I'm Brian Dable, I don't sniff the New York Jets.
I think he might have already gotten fired. It probably won't be released till tomorrow, but I think he did fire him.
That's not a rumor. That's just a scheduled event.
New Year's. It's like New Year's, Fred.
Happy New Year, Gase.
But no, if I'm Brian Dable, I'm looking at Houston and I'm looking at the Chargers. I think the Chargers would be a match made in heaven for him, considering the play style of Justin Herbert is comparable to Josh Allen. Do I think he's as dynamic? I think he could be. He absolutely could be. I'm not going to say he definitively is or isn't yet, but Brian Dable, he should have his options. But you're right. It's going to be interesting to see if he's going to be one of those OCs similar to Eric Bieniemy of the last 2 years that gets snubbed for a head coaching gig in favor to some guys like a Matt Rule or like a Jim Harbaugh coming in this year.
Yeah, but some of these guys that are OCs or DCs, they go to big head coach. Some of them can't do it. It's just plain and simple. The job's just too big for them. So they're used to it. So maybe Dable is not ready yet.
Well, I mean, it's only one way to find out. And I mean, that's a huge race. So, I mean, like I said, I kind of hope the guy does get a coaching job because, like I said, I know he's looking for one, and I think he deserves it. Mm-hmm. You know, I think he deserves a shot. I think he has a pretty decent pipeline too. And I think when you're hiring coaches nowadays, a lot of it's about who you can bring in. One of the reasons I think Eric Bieniemy in Kansas City has gotten looked over is because he doesn't have much of a pipeline left, because his pipeline is spread out between Chicago with Nagy, Buffalo with McDermott, and who's the other Reich. Philly with don't forget Philly with Peterson, but then also with Frank Wright in Indianapolis. It's not a lot of coaches left on that pipeline. So if I was Brian Dable and I had to handpick a job for him, it would definitely be Houston, not the Chargers. The reason it's not the Chargers is because obviously without the fanfare and the 8 fans that they have that come to a game when there's not COVID in the pandemic, that can create controversy. I think with Deshaun Watson being there and having a legit elite quarterback, I think he could probably team up with someone like a Matt Patricia, like I've been saying, coming in as a defensive coordinator and taking on that 3-4 defense and kind of tag teaming the job. So that's kind of the route I would go. I think the Chargers, it's something in the water. Something's not right there. I can't put my hand on it, but something's not right there.
No, you're right. Anytime you see a team that plays games like that, obviously coaches are the ones that have the fingers pointed towards them, but there's always something wrong with a team that is not competitive in games where they're competitive. They just so happen to play a lot of close games that they end up not winning. But, I thought of this question while we're having this discussion. And now that I think about it, it worries me a lot because we're talking about Brian Daboll potentially staying. Do you guys think that Ken Dorsey gets poached as an OC if Brian Daboll remains as offensive coordinator?
No, because if Brian Daboll gets poached, he's going to take our OC job. Because why? Because he has Josh Allen. And what's that going to get him to? That's going to get him to a head coaching job next.
Yeah, because he's helping develop Josh Allen. So.
Right. He's riding the Josh Allen train.
Yep.
I personally, I could see a path that he'd take to become an offensive coordinator, but I do agree with you both. I think Josh Allen's the key to head coaching jobs. I don't think the Bills or head coaching jobs for offensive play callers, that is. I don't think the Bills are going to struggle finding an offensive coordinator as long as Allen's in Buffalo.
Right, and we got a couple questions here. Let's take these questions. We told people the question. Now we're not answering the question. What are we doing? Lone Wolf says on YouTube how many head coaching jobs do you think will be available next season? Well,
you already got Houston. You've already got Detroit, the Jets, and that's it. Oh, Atlanta.
Yeah, because I guess they're probably gonna move on from Raheem Morris. Did you put the Chargers on there?
Yeah, I didn't mention Chargers because Anthony Lynn's still there, but that would be 6.
Yeah, so 6 is that it?
Yeah, I said 5, not counting Atlanta, because I think Raheem Morris is going to stay. So,
right, I wouldn't be surprised to throw Bill Belichick's name in that hat either. Just saying. It would not shock me. So I think we'll all agree with 6, possibly 7 if it's a surprise firing, because we know there are people like Lovie Smith who got fired out of nowhere. It happens every once in a while. Mm-hmm. It does happen. You get that one surprise job that somebody thinks.
I thought the one from the Jets was a surprise.
That's a scheduled event. I got that on my calendar. That's going to happen about next Monday around 11 a.m.
Well, if we're talking about surprise firings, I mean, you have to consider Nagy. Nagy's been on the fence all year with how that team's been inconsistent. I understand they've gone on a run and they've turned themselves into a playoff contender. But, if something happens there, Chicago could fire him. I think, Mike Zimmer might be on that hot seat, might be a quiet, all of a sudden fire to some. But
anytime you start talking about your team publicly, like the way he just did, and calling the worst defense he ever had, when you're the coach and you're defensive coach, you usually put yourself in the hot seat.
Yep.
He was on hot.
Right.
Let your number one wide receiver just go.
Right, and Ziggy will fire people in Minnesota, and actually Mike Boger makes a point in Jacksonville. So that's another one too.
I forgot that.
I thought Doug Marrone just signed a contract extension.
No.
Yeah, well,
Doug
Whaley signed one too, and he was fired like 6 weeks later. It happens. You can fire people when you have millions of dollars, man. That little $1 million payout, $5 million payout ain't nothing, Let's see. Let's get another question here. Let's see. Here's another question. I'm scrolling down. Our guy. Mike Boger had a good question. Can we franchise tag Milano? I think we can. I don't think we will. I don't think we should. If we do any type of tag, from my personal opinion, it would be the transition tag. Where if any team was going to sign him, they would have to give us a draft pick. But personally, I don't think the Bills are not ones for franchise tagging. I know Brandon Beane has said on the record plenty of times he believes in letting these guys test the market because they deserve it. First of all, with the salary cap being up in the air too, I just don't think that's a move that we make. I think Milano walks in general anyway.
Franchise tag is 15.2 for Milano if you want to tag him, and a transition tag is 13 million. So,
yeah, so that's pretty high for Milano, to be honest with you.
Yeah. All right, let's get to another. We have some more good questions coming in here. Carol Miller asks, how important do you think Daboll is to Josh Allen's future? I do worry about him leaving too soon for Josh's success to continue. Clayton, I'll let you go first on this.
Well, the only reason I was laughing is because this has been a narrative struck by the national media that is really, it's leading to people like Carol asking these questions, wondering these things. Is Josh Allen's success hinders on Brian Daboll's, position with the Bills? Does Brian? We've had this discussion throughout the duration of the season. Does Brian Daboll deserve credit in Josh Allen's development? Absolutely. Does he deserve credit in his own personal development as a play caller and in utilization of his playmakers? 110%. He's improved in that facet mightily this season. No, you're not going to see Josh Allen's success come and go with Brian Daboll. You're just not. I don't see it happening. I really don't. Josh Allen, he's not one of these guys. Did Brian Daboll, like I said, Brian Daboll definitely played a factor in Josh Allen getting better. Was the ultimate foundational reason as to why Josh Allen grew the way he did? No, why didn't he grow another quarterback elsewhere? I mean, you could say it's different because Josh Allen has different talents, different capabilities in comparison to a lot of different quarterbacks. You're going to be hard-pressed to find any quarterback that is as well-rounded as him and not mention Pat Mahomes. So do I think that Josh Allen's an anomaly in this case with Brian Daboll as an offensive coordinator? Yeah, I do. I do think Josh Allen's an anomaly for Brian Daboll, and he got lucky. He got really lucky with Josh Allen. I'll give him his credit where he's due, but he got really lucky falling into this job with Josh Allen.
But you also got to look at Josh Allen. It's Sean McDermott and it's Brandon Beane who's putting the weapons around him. It's Josh Allen who's taking the time in the offseason to work with Palmer. It's Ken Dorsey, who's there, the quarterback coach, is working with him as well. So, yeah, Daboll's the one that is running the offense. It's his system. He's calling the plays. But Josh Allen is a self-motivator, okay? He wants to have success in the NFL. So he is putting all the time in. It's not Daboll. Daboll's just calling the plays. So Josh will still continue having success in this league without Daboll.
Well, like I said, I think that I when it comes to the Josh's development, I think that the biggest factor has been Jordan Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the second biggest factor has been Brandon Beane and putting the players around him. And the third factor is just Josh Allen's work ethic. I mean, if you guys know anything about Josh Allen's offseason, he normally, if I'm not mistaken, he leaves, season's over. He takes a month off. He goes on vacation with his girlfriend. And after that month, he's back working with Jordan and actually lives down the street from Jordan in California to ensure that he's working out every day. And he's working. There's a group of us. Sam Darnold is out there with him. Tyree Jackson, a lot of guys out there. Joe Burrow's out there with him this year working out. But obviously most of them are not seeing the fruits of their labor besides Josh. So I think that's the biggest part. So does his success leave? No. And I'll give you Tom Brady. Started with Charlie Weiss.
Mm-hmm.
Moved on from Charlie Weiss to what? Was it Bill O'Brien next? Or was it Josh McDaniels next?
Romeo Crennel.
There was someone in between there.
It was somebody in between there. But I think it may have been Josh McDaniels. But Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels, what's the guy's name? Bill O'Brien, the crazy guy, insane. Yep. Bill O'Brien. So he moved on. And, I mean, you go to Ben Roethlisberger as well. We're losing Bruce Arians. Yep. Success continued. Phillip Rivers. He chokes, but he still put some great regular season numbers.
Yeah, he started with Norm Turner.
Right. Aaron Rodgers. So, no, great quarterbacks normally continue to be great. So I gotta agree with my guys here. I think success continues. I think that Josh is going to get a couple OCs head coaching jobs before his career is over.
And one piece of information I want people to keep in mind: there's a big difference between Josh Allen, feeling comfortable being in a system for 3 years. Because anybody can have a system in place for 3 years, and Josh Allen grows comfort through that duration of time. That played a factor. That doesn't mean he developed Josh Allen. That's not how I see it at all.
Right.
He developed with Josh. Like I said,
Yep.
But
the whole team did. If you look at it, the whole team developed.
Right. Now, are we saying that Daboll D means nothing? Absolutely not. We're not saying that. Daboll means a lot. And Daboll means a lot to Josh Allen. I think less off the football field, but more inside of Josh Allen's actual life. And I think that's what he speaks on a lot.
And what helps the Bills is having all these guys still here for 3 years, that continuity that this team's been looking for years.
Right. So moving on, Andy Dickens says, Dykens. See, now I said Dickens now, but Dykens, Jesus. Now I got it right the first time, I got it wrong the second time. Don't mind me. I lose that bingo. Who do you think scares the Bills most in the playoffs? For me, I already said this last week, it's the Ravens. It's the Ravens for me. Fred?
I'm going to have to agree with you on that. But then I think about who the OC is over there. And it's a Greg Roman offense. So we know what they like to do. They're going to be running. So if we can shut down the run, I think we'll be all right. But, yeah, the Ravens are a team that I worry about.
All things considered, are we answering this question? The team that worries me the most that's not the Chiefs? Is that?
I think so, because to me that's a juggernaut matchup that needs to happen.
It has to be the Ravens. You talk about a team that's won 4 straight, a team that, they're really finding their footing at the right time of the season, like I continuously say about the Bills. And, you can't talk about the Ravens without mentioning that. And just keep all things considered. Lamar Jackson has a lot to prove in the playoffs this season, and it doesn't matter who he plays. It could be the Bills, it could be the Titans, it could be anybody. Lamar Jackson has a lot to prove. And, I feel like that Ravens team, they have a lot to prove as well. They're a team that was downed by a lot of people. I think I might have joked about it. People misinterpret my jokes a lot of times for me criticizing people, and I don't like that. But, the Ravens, they have a lot to prove as a football team. That's an inspired football team. And if I had my pick of running into an inspired football team or a less inspired football team, I'd rather run into somebody that isn't the Ravens this offseason. But I'll take the matchup. I think it's a matchup that the Bills can come away and win this time.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I think we all agree it's the Ravens outside of the Chiefs. Let's see. Well, who else we got in here? We had another good question here. Let's see. And we'll be ready to get off in like 2 minutes here. Someone asked about the biggest free agent. We'll get back to your question along with, we're going to ask the mics first. Do we have the GM and coach of the year? I think we have the GM of the year. I got a feeling that McDermott's not going to win the coach of the year, though.
Depends on how far they go in the playoffs. I mean, if he brings this team, I think even if he brings this team to the AFC Championship, I think there's a strong possibility because he's advancing this team. Every year they became closer and closer. So, I mean,
I think you have to give coach of the year Matt LaFleur, though.
Yeah, that's true, too.
I think you have to give it to Matt LaFleur. Because people didn't expect 13-3 from the Buffalo, I think, but I think people expect 11-5 in the AFC East Championship. So
at the beginning it was 8-8 because of
I don't know what idiot said that.
Yeah,
I don't know what idiot said that.
Yeah.
All right, well, what idiot said that, we need to find that and publicly blast them because that was just idiot. And that was stupid.
Right.
Stupid.
For coach of the year, objectively, Sean McDermott probably won't win it. The Bills just, I don't see it happening. I don't see the NFL giving McDermott the credit like that. I don't see them giving Josh Allen the credit like that.
No.
But I will say this. Jerry kind of alluded to it right there. A lot of people expected 11-5, somewhere around there. And I remember sitting here on the same show you mentioned earlier, the schedule prediction show, where the schedule came out. We sat here, we went through the games, and I think Jeremy, I think we all predicted 11-5. I think we all predicted 11-5, and whether it's just me consistently being wrong, Sean McDermott's always found a way to get more out of this team than I initially expect. You go back to 2017. I did not expect that to be a 9-7 team. I expected it to be like 6-10, 7-9 tops. Go back to 2018. That team had no business winning 6 games that year. They probably, if any other coach in the league coaches that team, they're probably winning 0-2 games. Right. Go back to last year. That team, that was a good team. A lot of people were right on the fence about them though. They had a lot to prove. Josh Allen had to develop going into 2019. A lot of people were saying 8-8, 9-7. He ends up getting a team that should have won 11 games if you're not counting that last game against the Jets that they threw away. So a team that could have won 11 games last year, 2 more wins. And this is a team that could win 13 games this year, 2 more wins. Sean McDermott continues to get more out of this football team than a lot of people expect. I don't think a lot of people objectively, pragmatically predicted this team to go 12-4, 13-3. They may have been a little drunk on the juice, if you know what I'm saying, the Kool-Aid.
We should have had 12 wins last year. Cleveland game.
Oh, come on, Fred. How missed that one clean?
Hauschka wasn't feeling it.
Don't talk about Hauschka, man. We left off talk about Hauschka on a good side. We're gonna leave it at that. We're not gonna talk about the bad memories before he got cheap shotted by Henry Anderson, scumbag. Mike Boger asked the question: can we do a no shave playoff challenge? What is that? What does that mean? That means like we don't shave until they lose, or
don't shave.
I mean, I haven't been shaving hardly anything since the quarantine, but I'm just asking. But if you are going to shave, if you're not going to shave, please get with melanin skincare products. They sent me this, and my homegirl sent me this, and I use it on my beard and hair. And if you are going to go a no playoff shave, make sure you do it with Melanin Skin. You can find them at www.melaninskinco.com. That's skin with SKYNCO. So make sure
you should put our email after that ad. Put our email.
I will. I'm just saying, hey, we support small business there, Cole. We're small. We did reach over 1 million organic people in the last month, but we are a small company. But let's see. Let's get to another question and we'll get out of here. Great crew. That's about Duke Williams, and I think Rob Roberson answered this question, so that was a thing. But I think a good answer from Rob there. Rob always giving the insight. But the reason we didn't keep Kumar, I think they just thought he would go back to the practice squad and no one would pick him up. He got stolen.
They weren't planning on John Brown. They weren't planning on that.
Oh, the COVID list, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he got stolen. Melanin. Hold on, I'll put this in the chat right here. www.melanin. Put that in. You gotta get you gotta help people out, man. Small business.
Support small businesses in these trying times. Seriously though.
.com. You never know. Let's go. we have fun on this show. It's funny. Since we got this new set, we get the questions. It makes the show just a lot funner because we can actually engage with people. But
it's not just people yelling at you for saying their name wrong, right?
No, right. No. Oh yeah, people. Yeah, remember when I got Daniel's name wrong last year? He corrected me. He was pissed. But all right, guys. I mean, we've been on here about an hour and a half now. We gotta get ready to get out of here. So we got a big game versus the Dolphins coming up. Hopefully, most of us feel that they should play starters to the third quarter. Hopefully win this game, get the 2 seeds, stay away from the Ravens if possible. If not, we're not scared of them. But just stay away from the Ravens as possible. We would love to see Tua play an entire game for Miami, and we would see Miami come to Buffalo for round 1 of the playoffs, correct?
Yes. Well, that's a possibility. If we're the 2 seed, and we would probably see them.
Right. As David Smith says, hashtag more bucket hat.
That's right.
More bucket hat. Oh man, guys, it was a wait. What question did Rob ask? Oh, I'm sorry, Rob. My bad, dog. I didn't see the question. I'm sorry. I my bad. We didn't ask Rob a question. He said, "Why y'all keep it normal? We not ignoring you, big dog. Where are we currently? What piece do we need to add to make another Super Bowl? To make a push for a Super Bowl? I think he's talking about free agency and draft. Starting off with a 0 tech or 1 tech defensive tackle.
Another linebacker.
Yeah, we're gonna need another linebacker. Yes, yep.
Cornerback, edge rusher.
I'm not giving up on Levi, man. I ain't giving up on Levi.
All right. Well, we'll go with an edge rusher. I think if you got another serviceable, I don't even know. Like, is that really a need?
Any JJ Watts coming out in the draft this year? That's what we need.
No, but there's one coming out of Houston.
Yeah, if you can get JJ Watt, that'd make this defense.
Yeah, I take JJ Watt, and he's mightily angry these days.
Oof.
So I would take a JJ Watt for 2 years.
In all seriousness, a situation to watch is going to be the offensive line. What they decide to do with John Feliciano and Darrell Williams, whether they choose to re-sign both or none of them. I think that's something that is going to be a big deal this offseason that people are going to look back on and say that decision will either make – I wouldn't say it's going to make or break next season, but it's going to have a large factor on that offensive line and their cohesiveness and their ability to get pushed. Because you're going to have both your running backs. You're going to have everybody returning next year. You're assuming they don't cut Brown, assuming they don't cut Beasley, and you're going to have largely the same crew of skills players coming back next year. But I think the biggest point of emphasis this offseason that you're going to have to watch is what they do with their right guard and right tackle spots.
Yeah. Right. I think when you to comment on your point, I think the person that's more in jeopardy to be let go is John Feliciano.
Yeah.
Because I think Darrell Williams, I think that's a no-brainer. You when you have bookend tackles in this passing league, especially if you're going to go back there, you're going to throw the ball 45 times a game, you got to re-sign Darrell Williams at all costs. And I think I could easily see them pulling this Cody Ford project again. And let's put Cody Ford at right guard now, and let's keep Ike Bodiger, and let's just try Cody Ford again, and we're not going to re-sign Feliciano. I can see them doing it.
I can see the same thing. I'm not sure what could happen. Can they cut Morse?
You can. You can. I don't know what the penalty will be, but you can.
Well, if it's not practical, I'm not going to bring it up. But, given the flexibility of Feliciano, an option you have to keep in mind is if they were to either restructure, cut, or trade Mitch Morse, and then you could see the Cody Ford experience again at right guard, but you see Feliciano going to center, you keep Williams, and you see them moving on with Ford at right guard.
Feliciano is probably your motor on this offensive line. I mean, he can play anywhere on that line, but he's also the one that keeps these guys motivated. Since he came back, that offensive line has been nasty. And I think a lot of it has to do with his attitude, his physical play. And like we've already seen, we've seen him play right guard, we've seen him play left guard, and we've seen him play center this year. So he's somebody that you might want to keep around.
Well, I think something. Oh, go ahead.
If you look at the Mitch Morse contract, just to give you an update on that, if you do cut him, I mean, it's going to be a $5 million penalty. You'll end up saving about $5 to $6 million on it though. So it's not the worst because he did have a potential out for 2 years, $28 million, and a $5.5 million dead cap. So if you do it post July 1st, actually you probably save a lot of money on it. Probably save about $7 million.
Wow. Okay, so that's an option people really have to keep a lookout for. If they choose to re-sign both Williams and Feliciano, you might not see Mitch Morse here again next year.
Right. Maybe. So, and Ty Seki won't be back next year. No.
We still have Ryan on there, right?
Bates.
Really?
I don't know if he's still on there.
Is this where we're going with this conversation? Are we really going to bring up Ryan Bates in this conversation?
I was just wondering if we still had him on.
Ryan Bates does not play a part in this conversation or any conversation when we're talking about starting linemen, unless it's like the 10th lineman or the COVID is still going on next year and we have people that's protected.
Don't say that. I said it about Ike Bacher in like week 7. And 8 weeks later, it's not looking too good. Don't say that about Ryan Bates. That could turn around.
Ryan Bates does not play a part in this conversation. Please stop it. Stop it. Come on. All right, guys. We've been on this thing way too long tonight. It's an hour and a half. We did almost 2 shows into one. But, hey, we're having fun and having a good time with everybody. And as always, we thank you guys for joining us tonight. And hopefully you had a blast. We had a blast. We enjoyed it sweeping the Patriots. So we actually did 2 shows in one for 2 wins versus Patriots and a sweep. So we swept the show up too. So, hey. Let's just pray for no injuries. The only update we got on Cole Beasley was he's week to week. We don't know what the injury is. Obviously, McDermott's tight to the vest. He's not going to really let us know anything if he's hurt severely or not. Thank you guys for all your great points tonight, all your great questions. It makes it fun. So please share the show, like the show, and follow us on all our social media platforms. I'm not sure what I'm doing with Zoe on Thursday. I don't know if I'm going live with Lorenzo on Thursday or not because that's New Year's Eve. And I don't know if Zoe party. I don't like the party, but but Zoe has kids and things like that. So we'll see what happens with that. And hopefully we got some guests coming up on the shows in the near future as we get closer to the playoffs. But once again, hey, shout out to all you guys at Cold Front Nation and for Sporting CFR. Make sure you get over to the Cold Front Report webpage. We are putting more and more articles as days go by. We're getting better with it. We're not there yet. We're getting better with it. There's a process. Just trust in our process as well. Any final thoughts, Fred?
Hey, like I said, like JT just said, hopefully we stay healthy and we lock up that number 2 seed. And that's all I have.
Mike Boger, you're a jokester, man. www.melaninskinco.com. Skin with a... Rob got me. That's my guy, man. I love Rob. Get some Rob a paycheck, man. But it'll be a $600 stimulus coming to your... for you can just say I sent it to you in the next couple of days here. Any final thoughts, Clayton?
I just like to thank everybody for always staying tuned into what we're doing, always, being supportive, watching the shows. Jeff Uvino and I going live with the Overtime podcast every Tuesday morning at 10:30. That show's gone through a lot of turbulence this year. First going from just a podcast to a live show and being welcomed onto the platform for being a live show. It's very different, given the production and what have you. And then switching from a night show to a morning show, that was completely different as well. And the fans were very they received it very well. They love the show, and the fans are always loving what we're doing here at the Cold Front Report. So like Jeremy said, be sure to follow us on all social media platforms to always get the engaging content and the news that you look for with your Bills. And hey, we always love Bills Mafia. You're always supportive of us, and you have been since day one, and this thing's only grown since day one, and I couldn't be more grateful for you guys.
Right. So hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. And I mean, that's the end. It's an hour and 34 minutes and 17 seconds. Wow, it must have been the longest show we ever had besides our special that year. That was kind of crazy. But hey, have a good night, everybody. Make sure you check out melaninskin.com if you want to get that, nice hair and beard and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm going to take you up on that offer, Mike Boger. No shave, no playoff, no shave. So we won't shave till the Bills win. If the Bills lose, I'll cut it off. But hopefully it grows a long time. But hey, everybody have a good night. And Andy Dykins, I'm going to come check out that bar. I got the address. I'm going to come check it out. I live in Plainville. I'm not that far away from you. So catch you guys later. Have a good night. Go Bills.